Hello, everyone. Dana from DePIN Hub now. And here we have James from Neuron. We're building machine to machine and a lot of other things, right? Very cool things. I don't want to blur all the things that you guys are doing. I'm going to let you introduce the project. Why is it exciting?
Awesome. So yeah, Neuron, we're powering machine-to-machine commerce. And what does that mean in the real world? Well, ultimately, we believe in a world where machines and AI agents will be the customers, not just the suppliers of things. And when we reach this kind of level of AI abundance, where we don't have to work, we choose to work because we're bored and we've got nothing else to do. Then ultimately, machines and AI agent will be the customers of other machines and AI agents. And so we're building this infrastructure, but we have to start somewhere. So currently we're focusing on data because data is something that's real. And ultimately we're here today at DePIN Day, there's a lot of data flowing around DePIN Day. And what we're doing is connecting that into software applications and AI agents. And we do that through an edge network infrastructure. And what that does is it enables the machines or the data sources to connect peer-to-peer with applications and AI agent, deliver low latency, high availability, low cost data in an open source and permissionless way.
Nice. How long have you been building on Neuron?
So we actually started this in end of 2019, and we really kicked things off properly, I would say, sort of 2 or 3 years ago. We kind of started off in the aviation sphere. So we were looking in particular at flight tracking data because there was a real problem around integrating drones into the airspace. I've been in that space for about 16 years. But yeah, we started off with that problem. And whilst we were trying to solve that problem, we realized an even bigger problem, which is accessibility to data.
Yeah.
Traditionally within the aviation sector, everything kind of was pushed into the cloud. And you couldn't use this data for any safety critical applications. So what we did is well, how can we take flight tracking sensor data and make it safety critical? And then we realized the way to do that is with an edge network. So remove the cloud from the equation and connect sensors directly into the drone systems, into the airports that manage the safety of these operations. And that would enable you to actually reach the level of assurance that you need for regulators to sign off on it.
And then from that point, how did you guys decide to, okay, let's integrate with some blockchain and crypto and Web3?
Yeah, well, ultimately, we're talking about peer-to-peer. So it was really obvious when we're okay, we're connecting these things edge to edge or peer-to-peer. That is what Bitcoin was. It's like a peer-to-peer digital cash. So how do we actually then connect these together? And if you've got machines connected to machines, you can't go to the bank and apply for a credit card. They can't sign contracts. They might be able to do digital or smart contracts, but not physical contracts. So what we needed is a technology that would enable things to be able to be done digitally. How can they have a programmable form of money? Well, I don't know. There's something called cryptocurrency that's programmable and a form of money. So it seems like a natural fit for machines to be able to discover one another, connect to one another, provide services to one another, and then pay for those services in a trusted and protected manner.
So this project started in 2019. How long until you guys start playing around with crypto, and how has the experience been?
Yeah, so we really sort of went sort of full on Web3 once we'd sort of proven that there was a market for this. We went a lot of DePINs. They kind of got an idea, and then they scaled all this huge sensor network, and then hope that the customer will come along at the end. And that sometimes, in a few cases has worked, but in a lot of cases it hasn't. And so we kind of really wanted to verify and validate that the system we were building was suitable for customers. And we kind of hit that sweet spot sort of, I would say, about 2 years ago when we flipped this we started off trying out these multiple nodes. So we had this network. It was almost like a blockchain network in itself, but it was like a multi-cloud system, which we're all in consensus, and we're pushing data into this and then pulling data out. This is how we were trying to solve this assurance problem. But this really didn't work. So we then flipped things and said, well, wait a second, why are we pushing data into anything? We've got a guy over here who wants the data, and we've got a guy over here who has the data. Why don't we just transport it directly?
Yeah.
And it was then when once we started doing that and we done our prototype, then all the customers hey, this is super interesting.
We need it.
Everyone was they were like, yeah, if you build that, we'd love to like support you. We'd love to help you with that. And UK government, UK research and innovation helped us a lot, gave us quite a bit of money to help us develop the system. And we went out there and did it. And the uptake around about 12 months ago, we then launched our testnet properly with this edge network, and we saw it was 3 times oversubscribed. It sold out in about 2 hours, and we're like, okay, we're onto something here. We went and launched a load of sensors to prove the system in a real world, and we've then had about 14 customer integrations with this network, and it's now being used live in an airport. So we were like, okay, this really works. But then people have started saying, well, can you do this kind of data, or could you include this kind of data? And we sort of realized that this has got a far wider reaching consequence, which is really about this next generation of how do you go and get one computer to do services with another computer? Whether it's a sensor, whether it's a robot, whether it's an AI system, or even a server, how do you get these things to interact in the real world in an efficient way? And that's really what we realized that we'd actually solved the problem for.
So you guys start with like one problem, and then it's really cool how we like start growing to the point that now you have more like an SDK or like a framework to doing machine-to-machine payments.
Exactly, yeah. So, we kind of already had this vision at the beginning that actually this could be used for a lot of things. We kind of realized that what we're trying to build was something that could be used for, across different industries, across different sectors. And it's certainly like absolutely critical for real-time applications. It's also critical for anything that doesn't involve a human. So AI agents is like a huge market for us because ultimately they can't sign contracts or use credit cards. So this is a great thing for us. And it also enables ultimately like sort of streamlined access between all of these different data sources. So for us, yeah, it was like a no-brainer. But, starting off with aviation was really helpful because drones are just a robot ultimately. So when we're talking about some of our target markets being around AI agents and robots, drones are a perfect use case for us because that ticks off one of the 2 main areas that we're focusing on.
And then how does what's the business model around how you like get money from outside of crypto to the project?
Yeah, so if you've got 2 parties involved in a transaction, a buyer and a seller, and if they're operating peer-to-peer digital services, let's call it. I'm not ripping off the Bitcoin white paper. How do you actually how do these guys trust each other? Because if I send you money, are you going to provide me with the service? If you provide me with the service, how am I going to send you the money? So there's kind of like this sort of chicken and egg. Who sends it first? And generally in those situations, what you use is an escrow. So you put the money into a shared account, and then once the service has been provided and you've proven that's been provided, then the money unlocks and gets transferred. You could call it a little bit like PayPal, really. And what we do is we have a validator network that acts as the trusted intermediary in this transaction. So if I send the money, it goes into a shared account. If you don't agree that you should provide that data, then the validator network steps in, and it can either choose to clear the money or refund the money back to the customer. So that's really how we make money. We're taking a fee from every transaction to basically pay validators within our network to unlock or refund money back to the customer.
And then you have your own token for that, and then
yeah, so we're going to be launching our token later on this year. We've kind of pushed it as far back as we can, and we've got people screaming saying, "Come on, when token, yeah, all that kind of stuff." But like I think the people that we've attracted to the project really love that we're doing real stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of fluff in, it is a little areas, just a tiny bit. But we're doing some real stuff here. And, there's real customers who are using this for safety critical, mission critical applications. And so what we try to do is to show the value, because ultimately, if you can show value to customers, and you don't actually need a token unless it's required for your software. Now, we do need it for our software. But ultimately, if you can kind of delay it, you can make sure that you get the token right. You can only launch a token once. Yeah. Some people have tried the second time, and it creates a lot of problems.
hard, yeah.
It's very hard. It's possible, but very, very hard. So we've tried to wait as long as we can to make sure that we get the model right, and to do it in the best situation that we can. And ultimately, people who are as part of the network at the moment are earning points in like a non-token way, but on DSNet. But that basically gives them the sort of sense, okay, well, I've got something for
Like this happening.
exactly. And then they also have that trust that we're actually trying to do things properly as well.
And so you're talking before, like you're building mainly on Hedera, but what the technology can be used at any blockchains, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're kind of like blockchain agnostic with our approach, which is like, let's use the right tool for the right job. You know, people sometimes choose a blockchain because of the community or how much hype it could possibly give you.
Yeah.
Like, we're kind of like, okay, well, community is really important, but we think that ultimately we want to grow our own community. We don't want to be part of someone. We don't want to be part of someone else's community. We want to grow our own community, and we can do that by using the tools from whichever systems or blockchains that we need. So we're better off to use the right tools for the right jobs. And some of those tools we use from Hedera, but we also use tools from other ecosystems as well. And ultimately, we need to connect data sources across both Web 2 and Web 3.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's no token or blockchain network on AWS ultimately. So we need to be able to use tools that can stretch across and outside of the paradigm. You know, I see it as we're connecting data providers, not just DePINs.
Nice. And what is the next steps for you now? So you've been building for many years, like tokens as late as you can. What are you focusing now? And how do you see the project grow in the next 3 years?
Exactly. So what we've been doing, what we showed today actually was, I think the first time that an AI agent using MCP is connecting and buying data from a remote MCP server connected to a DePIN, which I believe is a world first. It's not been done before. So what we're going to be doing is basically launching that and integrating with the leading AI agent platforms, connecting lots and lots of DePIN networks and other data providers on the supply side, and then basically unlocking premium data for AI agent platforms. At the moment today, AI agent platforms can get access to free data, they can get access to Twitter and Telegram and all the rest of it. But premium data is where the true value is. How do you trust free data? Well, you may be able to trust it in some situations, but premium data, you can actually understand it. You can get a lot more actionable insights from that. So really our focus at the moment is integrate DePINs on the supply side, integrate AI agent platforms on the demand side, and then bring the two together. It's like a party.
It's like a DePIN MCP marketplace, basically.
Exactly, yeah. And you know, that's sort of heating up already. We showed 2 integrations today with 2 other DePINs into ELISA OS. Never been done before using MCP, so we're like super stoked about that. I think ELISA are gonna love it when they see it. So we'll be posting that later on today. So yeah, you can check out our feed on X at Neuron_World, and you'll see the video that we posted today. And I'm sure the feed from DePIN Day as well is also on YouTube somewhere.
Amazing. What else would you like to tell the community about the project?
I think really, like, you know, ultimately come and check us out. We've got a new website, which is at www.neuron.world. And you can see a little bit more about the project. You can join our Discord community. And yeah, really just start learning about how edge networks work, because ultimately, like, blockchain is great for orchestration, is great for settlement, but how do you actually exchange data and information between machines? This is edge networks. So combining edge networks and blockchains is a really cool stuff. And this is honestly the future of blockchain tech.
Yeah, machine-to-machine payments, definitely the future. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks for watching.